There are three things you can count on in life: death, taxes, and a late round running back that nobody thought was worth drafting, helping teams win fantasy championships. It happens every single year. It's going to happen again this year. I'm going to give you 10 candidates who I think have the potential to either A, help fantasy teams way more than people think, or B, maybe help you win a championship in your fantasy league this year. Let's jump into it. Now, real quick before I get to my first running back, I do need to remind you, if you have not joined us on flockfantasy.com/endgame yet, what are you waiting for? We've got 3 amazing courses to help you dominate any of your leagues. We have a dynasty course, we have a rookie draft course, and we are working on a redraft course that is going to help you crush any of your leagues, all of your leagues. Yes, we have partnered with Flock Fantasy, Fantasy Stock Exchange, and Dynastyland Football. You're going to get so much more. Just check out this graphic right here to see everything you get. 30% off any subscription. Plus, you're still going to get our weekly Sunday morning live streams where we go over your lineups and help you set your lineups. Everything you got from us last year, plus so much more. Flockfantasy.com/endgame. That is the place to be this fantasy season. All right, let's jump into the first running back. And look, I get it. A.J. Dillon, he didn't come through for you last year. He was a huge disappointment. But he started to show some signs down the stretch before he suffered that injury. And right now, he's currently being drafted with the 106th overall pick at running back 33. This seems like a massive overreaction here, because what are we going to see from this offense? Probably going to lean more on the running game with Aaron Rodgers gone. They have a good defense. Aaron Jones, yes, he was still highly efficient last year, but he's getting up there in age. We can't expect Aaron Jones to handle significant touches week in and week out. A.J. Dillon will have a nice role in this offense. I think he'll have weekly RB2 flex type value. And if something should happen to Aaron Jones, he's easily the next man up and will step into a workhorse role. Definitely one of those running backs being slept on that has the potential for a massive impact in fantasy football this year. And then another running back, I talked about him in a recent video, in my Hidden Gems video. I just want to mention him again. Brian Robinson is currently pick 107, running back 34. What are we doing? This guy is a starting running back, getting 15 to 20 plus carries every single week. I know he's not hyper efficient, or at least he wasn't last year. But remember, he got shot. He needed time to come back. He should be 100% healthy this year. I think we see a better Brian Robinson, still a workhorse Brian Robinson. No, not going to catch a ton of passes, but at this late, he's definitely the type of guy you could plug into your lineup anytime you need him. So Brian Robinson at pick 107 feels like a massive discount to me. And then moving down a little bit, we got our first rookie, a guy I did not think I would be recommending this year, and that is Devin Shane. Look, he's a tiny running back. He's probably going to get hurt. He's probably going to miss some games. But he's going at pick 110, RB 35. He's not a guy you should be counting on week in or week out. But you got to love the landing spot. Even I have to love the landing spot because it's the Dolphins. This is one of the most high-powered, fastest offenses in the NFL. Like literally speed, like literally fast. Not that they play fast, they just have all these fast guys. And now they have Devin Shane, the fastest running back in this class. He is going to have so many chances to hit home runs in this offense because defenses cannot worry about the running game. They got to worry about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Devin Shane, a guy being completely slept on because, yes, he's undersized, and I was definitely down on him because of his size, but man, in this offense, it probably won't matter because he's not going to need to be relied upon for a ton of touches, 10 to 15 touches a game, and that's all he really needs because this guy can take any touch to the house. All right, let's get to a couple vets now, and how about Maji PPR, now of the Denver Broncos? Yes, that's right, he's now a Denver Bronco after leaving a free agency, going at pick 116, running back 37. But look, Javonte Williams is coming off a massive knee injury. It's highly unlikely he's going to be ready week 1, and I really don't think we see him until at least the middle of the season. So at a minimum, Maji PPR can help your team in the early parts of the year, especially if you go very wide receiver heavy early and you wait on running back. And we've seen this guy, when given the opportunity, has been nothing but great. So last year in the 3 games where he played at least 60% of his snaps, he scored 30 fantasy points, 19 fantasy points, and 21 fantasy points. I think you'll take that week in and week out. Now, granted, this is not the Cincinnati offense. It's the Denver offense. But they did bring in Sean Payton. Gotta hope that they're better, but still, this is another guy who, at least early in the season, is going to be a workhorse back. And if Javonte Williams can't get back on the field, or if it takes longer, he's going to be a workhorse back for most of the season. And then how about Antonio Gibson, pick 129, running back 42? I get it. Another running back that has disappointed year after year, and now people are just like, I'm done with him, I'm fed up with him. But this year might actually be the best year we've seen from Antonio Gibson. No, I don't expect him to get a ton of work in the early down on the carries, because that's Brian Robinson's role, but he'll get enough. But what you gotta like is that J.D. McKissic is no longer with the Commanders. Each of the last 2 years, Antonio Gibson has caught over 40 passes, and that was with J.D. McKissic. You gotta think he's going to be the third down pass catching back, because who else is it going to be? It's definitely not going to be Brian Robinson. So we could finally see a year where Antonio Gibson goes over 50, maybe even over 60 catches. So if you're in a PPR league, getting a running back who's going to catch 50, 60 plus passes this late in the draft is great value. And we already know, should Brian Robinson get injured, Antonio Gibson can handle the entire role. So this is a guy, to me, a high-end handcuff with flex value, one of my favorite type of running backs to draft late. All right, let's go on a little bit of a rookie run here. And one of my favorite rookie running backs this year is Kendric Miller of the New Orleans Saints, going to pick 135. Running back 43. I guess people are just this scared of 28-year-old Jamal Williams, who averaged 4 yards per carry last year, and 28-year-old Alvin Kamara, who I think averaged less than 4 yards per carry and probably will be spending the first 6 weeks not on the field. Kendric Miller is an absolute stud. The only reason you don't think he's a stud is because he went to 2CU, so you didn't pay attention, and he didn't do any athletic testing, so you didn't get to hear about his fast 40 time. But this guy has legit 4.4 speed, can take any play to the house. He is significantly better than Jamal Williams. He is significantly better than this version of Alvin Kamara. He could easily take over this backfield at some point this season. They are not paying Jamal Williams a lot of money at all. Don't be surprised if he has a similar path to Tyler Algier last year, where he might not do a lot early in the season, but then down the stretch, he's a monster, winning fantasy championships. So do not sleep on Kendric Miller, one of my favorite rookie running backs. Now, I'm admittedly not as high on Tank Bixby as I am on Kendric Miller, but at pick 172, running back 54, I'll take my chances on Tank Bixby, because I don't think they used a third-round draft pick on Tank Bixby to have him be nothing more than a breather for Travis Etienne. Doug Peterson, not a guy who likes to just use one running back. I think this is going to be not a 50-50 split, but I think it could be like a 55-45, maybe a 60-40. That's enough of a role for Bixby, and he's a big enough guy. He can have usage at the goal line, and should something happen to Etienne, they're going to have no choice but to give Bixby a bigger workload. So I don't necessarily love him as a prospect. I think he's good enough, but he's not one of my favorites. But at this price, I'll take my chances. And now we're getting really deep, but I got another rookie for you, and that is Zach Evans of the LA Rams. Pick 202, running back 60. Now, yes, he fell very far in the draft. Was very surprised to see him fall this far. Didn't think he'd be necessarily a day 2 pick, but man, I think he fell, 6th round, 7th round, really late in the draft. But he's got the goods that could deliver in the NFL. He's decently sized. He's got the speed. Maybe he needs a little bit of work on his vision, on his decisiveness. But when you look at this Rams backfield, it's basically Cam Akers and Kyron Williams. That's it. He could easily become the number 2 running back in this offense, have a role, and if something should happen to Cam Akers, he'll probably be forced into a large role, and I think he can handle that role. So this is definitely a guy more of a handcuff type of pick, but we're at pick 202. You can't expect to find a guy that you can set in your lineup every single week, but definitely a handcuff with a lot of upside should something happen to Cam Akers, and I think we could see him have, at least a decent role early in the season. Now a couple of vets to finish it out. I did talk about Jerome Ford in my Hidden Gems video. You can check it out after this, but he's currently going at pick 207, running back 65, and I don't get it. I mean, I get it, like Nick Chubb, okay, Nick Chubb is obviously the lead back, but Kareem Hunt isn't there, and he's probably not coming back. Jerome Ford, at worst, the number 2 running back behind Nick Chubb. Maybe he'll be in that Kareem Hunt role. And look, last year the Kareem Hunt role wasn't very valuable, but maybe that's because Kareem Hunt was really bad. The guy still isn't on an NFL team. But we've seen in the past the Kareem Hunt role does have some value. So this is actually a guy outside pick 200 that may have some weekly at least some flex appeal. But if Nick Chubb should go down, who's behind him? It's going to be Jerome Ford. Dearness Johnson's in Jacksonville. Like I said, Kareem Hunt not signed. It's probably going to be Jerome Ford. And we've seen whatever running back steps into this role can be productive. I do think Cleveland won't be as run-friendly as they've been in the past, but it'll still be a good offense. And at this late of a pick, worth the gamble. And then finally, a running back I don't hear anybody talking about is Malik Davis in Dallas. Now, I love Tony Pollard. We all love Tony Pollard. But Tony Pollard's not the biggest guy. And if they're going to ask him to have this big, usage, this big workload of 15 plus carries, catch a few passes, there's a chance he gets dinged up. And if he does, it's pretty much just Malik Davis. I mean, yeah, they got Ronald Jones, but he's awful. They drafted Deuce Vaughn in the 7th round. Come on, he's 170 pounds. He's not going to have an impact. Now, Malik Davis isn't the type of guy, if Tony Pollard goes down, I'm not going to suddenly say Malik Davis is a, league-winning RB1. But I think he's definitely an upside RB2 play. Plenty of touchdown upside in this offense. They've trusted him in the past when Zeke has missed time. So Malik Davis going this late, definitely worth a spot on your roster if you're in a deeper league. So those are 10 running backs I think you must draft late in your fantasy football drafts. But if you want to see some of those hidden gems I mentioned, plus the rest of my hidden gems, check out this video right here.